My daughter-in-law didn't just spit in my face. She wiped it off my blouse, picked up my late husband's urn, and smashed it on my kitchen floor on purpose. My son watched his father's ashes scatter and said, "You kind of had that coming, Mom." I went upstairs without a word. The next morning, they woke up to the smell of pancakes and found 2 police officers and my lawyer eating breakfast with me, and they weren't there for me. Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments and hit like, subscribe if you want more stories like this. But first, be honest with me. If your DIL spat on you and smashed your husband's ashes, would you scream, slap her, call the cops on the spot? I did none of those. I did something much worse. I'm Margaret Walker, 62, retired ICU nurse and widow. I've lived in this little brick house for 40 years, raised my son here, buried my husband from here. 8 months ago, my son David moved back home with his wife, Jessica. Just for a few months, Mom, until we get back on our feet. At first, I told myself I was helping. Then my grocery bill doubled, my power bill tripled, and apparently I was the only one in the house who knew how a trash can works. I bit my tongue. A lot. Quiet women get very good at swallowing things that hurt. Then came the night. It started over something stupid. My kitchen. I came downstairs to make tea and found every cabinet flung open, pots in a pile, my mixing bowls in a laundry basket, my baking sheets stacked by the back door like they were headed for Goodwill. Jessica, in leggings and a sports bra, was reorganizing. "Jessica, honey," I said carefully, "where are my baking sheets?" "I'm fixing your chaos," she said, not turning around. "This kitchen is a disaster. Nothing is where it should be. I can't live like this." "This is how I've cooked for 40 years, I said. "I just need my things where I can find them. Can you put them back where they were?" She slammed a cabinet so hard the glasses rattled. "This is exactly what I mean. You are so controlling. No wonder your husband left you." "My husband died," I said quietly. "In this house. I was there." She rolled her eyes. "Sure, that's what you tell people." That one stung. I still didn't raise my voice. "Jessica, I pay the mortgage, I pay the bills, I buy the food. I'm only asking you to respect my home." She spun around, eyes blazing. "Oh my God, there it is. My house, my rules, my money. You say it like we're stray dogs you're letting crash on the porch." "The word you're looking for is guests," I said, "and I haven't charged you a dime." "Family," she snapped. "We are family, Margaret." She only calls me Margaret when she's about to be truly nasty. Just then, David wandered in, staring at his phone. "What's going on?" "Your mom's freaking out because I reorganized the kitchen again." I turned to my son. "David, I just asked her to put my things back. I can't even find my kettle." He wouldn't look me in the eye. "Mom, you have been pretty rigid. Jess is trying to help. Maybe you could be a little more flexible." Something went cold inside me. I worked nights for 30 years so you could have a better life than I did. I don't think asking to know where my pots are is unreasonable. Jessica stepped right into my space, close enough that I could smell wine on her breath. "You're sick of all your passive-aggressive little sighs. Your, oh, I'll just do it myself. You want to know what I really think of you?" And then, before I could move, she leaned back and spit directly in my face. Warm spit slid down my cheek and onto the necklace my husband gave me on our 25th anniversary. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I looked at my son. "David,
I said. "Are you going to say anything?" He shrugged. "Well, Mom, you kind of brought this on yourself. You've been making Jess feel unwelcome since day one." Those words hurt more than the spit. Jessica saw it, and she smiled. Then she reached up to the shelf where my husband's urn sat. Simple white ceramic, his name engraved on a brass plate. "Maybe if you'd learned to keep your place with him, you wouldn't be alone now." "Put it down," I whispered. She held my eyes and just let go. Ceramic shattered. Ash and bone dust spread across my kitchen tile. For a second, I thought I might black out. I didn't. I did something that scared them much more later. I quietly took the dish towel off my shoulder, dropped it over the ashes like a little white sheet, and walked upstairs. No screaming, no "get out of my house," just silence. What they didn't know, that tiny blue light in the corner of the kitchen had seen everything.
At the top of the stairs, I locked my bedroom door and sat on the bed. I've seen a lot in 30 years as an ICU nurse. Blood, violence, families destroying each other in hospital waiting rooms. But somehow, my own son shrugging at his father's ashes on the floor hurt more than all of that. On the dresser across from me, a faint blue glow stared back. My grandson installed that little Wi-Fi camera last Christmas. "Nana, just in case anyone tries anything," he'd said. Last night, someone did. I took a breath, opened my nightstand, and pulled out 3 things: my phone, a business card, and a neatly folded document that said, "Power of Attorney, David Walker, revoked." He didn't know about that last one. Months ago, he'd suggested I give him legal control in case something happens, Mom. I smiled, took it to my lawyer instead, and tore it up. I dialed the card. "Richardson Law Group," a voice answered, sleepy but professional. "Thomas speaking." "Thomas, this is Margaret Walker. I'm sorry to call so late," I said calmly. "I believe I've just become the victim of elder abuse." His tone switched from tired to razor sharp. "Tell me exactly what happened." I told him. No dramatics, just facts. When I finished, he asked, "Do you have any evidence? Photos, video?" I glanced at the blue light. "The whole thing is on camera," I said. "Good," he replied. "Screen record that tonight and email it to me. Do not confront them. Call Adult Protective Services in the morning. I'll come by." "Thomas," I said, "how much trouble could they be in?" He didn't sugarcoat it. Spitting on a 62-year-old and smashing an urn, bad. Stealing, even worse. But let's see what's really going on before we decide. I hung up, pulled up the camera app, watched just long enough to confirm what I already knew, and hit record. I barely slept. At 5:30 a.m., I got up, washed Jessica's spit off my blouse, and headed downstairs. The towel was still there, the shards, the gray dust spreading from underneath. I stepped over my husband's ashes on the floor and started making pancakes like it was Sunday church. By 7:15, the house smelled like vanilla and bacon. The doorbell rang. 2 uniformed officers stood there. Behind them, Thomas in a navy suit, briefcase in one hand and travel mug of coffee in the other. "Miss Walker?" Officer Green asked. "That's me," I said. "Come in. Breakfast is hot." We sat at the table, me, 2 cops, and my lawyer, eating pancakes while the people who'd humiliated me snored upstairs. I heard footsteps on the stairs. David came down first, rubbing his eyes. "What's that smell?" he yawned. Then he saw the uniforms, the badges, the briefcase. "Good," he said automatically, trying to recover. "You finally understood your place." Then his face drained of color. Jessica followed in my robe, hair wild. "Why is there a police car?" She froze. I smiled. "Good morning," I said. "David, Jess, this is Officer Green, Officer Lopez, and my lawyer, Thomas Richardson." Jessica's coffee mug slipped from her hand and shattered on the hardwood. No one moved to clean it up. "And before you ask," Thomas added smoothly, "no one here is in trouble yet." The officers took off their hats and sat. "And just so we're clear," I said, meeting their eyes, "they're not here for me." "Ms. Walker," Officer Lopez said, "do you want to tell them why we're here, or should I?" "I'll start," I said. I folded my hands. "Last night, my daughter-in-law spat in my face and smashed my late husband's urn on the floor," I said. "My son watched and told me I deserved it." David jumped in. "Mom, that is not what happened. You're twisting it." Thomas flipped open his laptop. "Actually, David," he said, "let's see what did happen." He hit play. There I was on screen, small but clear, asking about my baking sheets. There was Jessica, red-faced, yelling about no wonder your husband left you. There was the spit, crystal clear. There was the urn, the deliberate drop, the shower of ashes, and there was David's shrug. You kind of had that coming, Mom. Not one of them could talk while it played. You could only hear sizzling from the kitchen. Officer Lopez closed the laptop. "Under state law," he said evenly, "spitting on someone is assault. Destroying an urn like that is criminal mischief. Doing it to an 62-year-old in her own home, that crosses into elder abuse territory." "It was just an argument," Jessica blurted. "Everyone was emotional. I didn't mean—" "You meant enough to spit," Lopez said. I looked at them both. What you saw, I told the officers, was just the loudest piece of the problem. And I wasn't lying. Thomas slid another folder out of his briefcase. He said, "Before we talk charges," he said, "we should clear up something else." David frowned. "Like what?" "Like this idea you have," Thomas said calmly, "that this house is your future inheritance." David flinched. Jessica tried to look innocent. He continued, "Mrs. Walker updated her estate plan last month. This house is no longer in her personal name. It's in an irrevocable trust." "What does that even mean?" Jessica snapped. "It means when your mother dies, this house will never belong to people who spit on her. It goes to St. Monica's Children's Home and Paws and Claws Animal Rescue." I took a sip of coffee. "When I die," I added, "this place goes to kids with no home and animals with no voice, not to two adults who can't put a plate in the dishwasher." David stared at me like I'd slapped him. "Mom, you're really going to leave everything to strangers?" I raised an eyebrow. "Strangers don't spit on me or steal from me." "Steal?" Jessica repeated, too fast. "No one stole anything." And with that one sentence,
She told on herself more than any detective could.
I didn't say who stole, I replied. Thomas pulled out printed bank statements. Last month when we reviewed your accounts, Miss Walker, you had about $420,000 across savings and investments, he said. This morning, your checking is overdrawn, your credit card hit the limit, and there are multiple transfers to an account ending in 3872. That's yours, Jessica? Her face went gray. Yes, she whispered. Officer Green leaned forward. Ma'am, are you saying you've been receiving money from Miss Walker's accounts? No, she said quickly. She gave me permission. Right, Margaret? I looked at her like she'd grown a second head. Jessica, the only thing I gave you permission to do was use my Netflix and rinse a plate before putting it in the sink. I never told you to touch my accounts. Thomas tapped the papers. Over the last 3 months, someone moved just under $14,800 from your accounts into Jessica's, he said. Each transfer just under the bank's automatic fraud flag. That's not an accident. That's a pattern. David's head snapped toward her. Jess, tell me he's wrong. She pivoted fast. You told me your mom was loaded. You said she'd never notice. You said we'd inherit it anyway. There was no point in her hoarding it while we're drowning in debt. Quick pause. I need to know. If you were sitting at this table, should Margaret press full charges or give them one last chance? Drop hammer or chance in the comments. I'll tell you what I did. Pick your side first. Officer Lopez looked at me. Ma'am, do you want to file a formal report for financial exploitation along with the elder abuse? I took a breath. Yes, I said. I do. Jessica's chair scraped back. You can't do this, she cried. You'll ruin our lives. No, I said calmly. You ruined your own. I'm just done sanding down the consequences for you. Mrs. Walker, Thomas said quietly. We need to talk about possible outcomes. If you press everything, there's a chance they both end up with felonies. That follows them for life. Good, I said. Maybe they can explain their records to the next landlord they try to freeload off of. Mom, please, David burst out. She's pregnant. The room tilted. What? I asked. Jessica nodded desperately. 6 weeks, she sniffed. Your first grandbaby. You're really going to throw his mother out and send her to jail? It was a hell of a card to play, and she knew it. I'm not made of stone. I've always wanted grandkids. I pictured a little boy or girl toddling across this kitchen floor. But then I pictured that same floor covered in my husband's ashes, my cheek wet with spit, my son shrugging. Fear of being a bad mother has kept a lot of women in terrible situations. I decided I was done with that. I looked at the officers. I'm not putting a pregnant woman on the street, but I am giving a criminal a choice. Jessica froze. What choice? I said. Option 1, you both pack a bag, right now, the officers escorting off my property. I cooperate with the DA. We pursue every charge. You explain the rest to your public defender. David swallowed. And option 2? Option 2, I said. I pay for a cheap motel for 7 days. During those 7 days, you both get jobs, any jobs. You sign a written agreement to repay every cent you took. You show up to every meeting the investigator schedules. You don't lie once. You don't miss once. You complete whatever probation and counseling they assign. And the charges, Jessica whispered.
I'll ask the DA to consider probation and restitution instead of jail if you do exactly what I just said. You slip once, I'd testify so clearly a toddler would convict you." David looked at me like he'd never seen me before. "Why are you doing this?" he asked. "Because that baby didn't ask for any of this," I said. "And because I'd like to be able to tell them someday, I gave your parents one last chance. They chose what happens next."
They took option 2. The officers watched while they packed a bag each. No screaming this time, just shock. Jessica paused at the door. "You're evil," she hissed. "You've destroyed our family." I glanced at the towel still lying over the ashes. "You destroyed this family with a mouthful of spit and a handful of ceramic," I said. "I'm just sweeping up." David lingered on the porch. "Mom, do you really hate me that much?" he asked. I looked at the man I'd once rocked to sleep on my chest. "I don't hate you," I said softly. "I just finally love myself enough to stop letting you hurt me." He opened his mouth, closed it, and followed his wife to the patrol car. The house went quiet. I locked the door, went back to the kitchen, and knelt. Very gently, I lifted the towel and started scooping my husband's ashes back into what was left of the urn. "I'm sorry I didn't protect your memory sooner," I whispered. "I'm fixing it now." If you've ever had that moment, on your knees, picking up pieces someone else broke, you know exactly what it feels like. But here's the part I haven't told you yet. David isn't my only child. He's just the loudest. My daughter Lily lives 3 states away. She's quieter, responsible, the kind of person everyone expects to hold it together while the golden child burns everything down. We drifted, not from one big fight, just 1,000 small cuts. She got tired of hearing about poor David and his latest mess. After I cleaned the floor, I made one more call. She answered on the 3rd ring, cautious. "Hello?" "Lily, it's Mom," I said. "Please don't hang up. I finally did the thing you always told me to do." "You left David's drama?" she said slowly. "Did he ask you for money again?" "He did more than ask," I said, and Jess did more than yell. I told her everything. The spit, the urn, a camera, the cops, the stolen money, the pregnancy, the choice I gave them. When I finished, she was quiet. "Mom," she said finally, voice kick, "I am so proud of you." I started crying. This time it felt like clean tears. "Do you still want anything to do with me?" I asked. "On one condition," she said. "What's that?" "No more setting yourself on fire to keep other people warm." I looked around my tidy kitchen, the sunlight, the empty chairs. "I think I'm finally done with that," I said. There was a pause. "Good," she said, "because I was going to wait to tell you, but I'm 10 weeks pregnant. I had to sit down." "Lily, you're going to be a grandma," she said, "to a baby with 2 sober parents, 2 steady jobs, and exactly 0 interest in your bank account." I laughed and sobbed at the same time. "Is that a yes?" I asked. "That's a yes. If we do this, we do it with boundaries. Deal?" "Deal," I said. Fast forward 6 months. Here's where everyone ended up. Jessica took the plea, 3 years of probation, mandatory counseling, and full restitution. No jail, for now. David got a real job, not future CEO of a landscaping empire, a warehouse job with early mornings and sore muscles. Every month, $250 hits my account, labeled repayment. It's not about the amount. It's about the direction of the flow for once. The restraining order expired after 90 days. When it did, I got a handwritten letter from David. Not a text, not, "Hey," a real letter. He wrote, "Mom, I saw the video again at the DA's office. I watched myself shrug while Jess spat on you and smashed Dad's urn. I don't know who that man is, but I don't want to be him anymore. And if you ever let me back into your life, it will be on your terms. No money, no favors, just me trying to be better." I cried over that letter. Then I wrote back, "I'm willing to know the man you're becoming. Coffee in public, no Jessica, no money talk, just two adults who both owe each other a lot of apologies. We've had 3 coffees now. He's softer, less entitled, scared, honestly. That's a good start. As for me, I sold a small business asset my husband left me and set myself up so that my rent and bills are covered comfortably. I have a little emergency cushion, and I could start a tiny education fund for Lily's baby. Last week, Lily drove down with a car seat in the back. She put a tiny bundle in my arms. "Mom," she whispered, "meet Eleanor." I held my granddaughter on the same couch where my son once told me I had it coming, and realized I was finally the kind of woman I'd want her to grow up to be. Not a doormat, not a martyr, a grandmother with boundaries and a backbone. My daughter-in-law thought spitting in my face made me weak. My son thought shrugging made him strong. But the day I finally said no, that was the day I became the kind of grandmother my granddaughter actually deserves.
If you're still here, you're my people. Has anyone ever called you dramatic, selfish, or cruel for finally saying no and protecting your peace? Tell me your "I'm done saving everyone but myself" moment in the comments, or stitch this and tell your story on video. I might read or feature some in a future episode.